I wanted to briefly continue from where I've stopped in the previous video, mention one more mechanic that I just can't see myself using, and then elaborate on what they mean to me when they appear within a story that I am reading. That one addition are clones. There is just something about that particular plot device that I just cannot interact with, both as a reader and as a writer. And here comes the explanation. I firmly believe that a mind much brighter than mine could make these work in a way that I would enjoy them, and it had been done before. As I've said, there are exceptions to pretty much everything I say, and in many cases I am aware of them. It's just not something that I would be willing to and able to, which is more important, obviously, incorporate into my stories in a satisfactory way. I simply do not trust myself with them, and I've experienced enough instances of the adverse effect they have on me when I'm trying to get into a story. One of the examples of me not really minding it too much is my beloved Neverwinter Nights, but that is just one singular quest, deep in, deep out. The mechanics of the time travel are explained to an extent that it wasn't disruptive to my enjoyment of the game, and it wasn't really pivotal to the story, just deep in, deep out, but it is still not something that I would ever want to build my entire tale upon. Now I want to go over something completely unrelated to this particular topic, but it is related to something that I've talked about, my view on female versus male characters within stories, and one such example that became more glaring over the time, although it's really skirting the line of my own rules for this channel and for what I want to talk about and what not. But on the other hand, it is a good example of my feelings, let's call it that way. And it's about Helm's Deep, the great battle in the second part of the Lord of the Rings story, one that is happening in a different world with magical creatures, equivalents of angels and demons, dragons, elves, and whatnot. The stakes are extremely high. It's pretty much the end of the world, and yet our world standards are used. Only men are defending, and children, women, and old are hiding in the caves. Young men that barely fit into the armor are still sent out there. But even if it wasn't established that men and women are physically equal in fights in that particular setting, since the literal fate of all that is good hangs on this battle, in my mind, it shouldn't matter if the women and children miraculously escaped. If the men lost, everything was going to end. So instead, it would feel more logical for literally everyone to pick up a fork and maybe in a group stab an orc in the eye, no matter who you are. But since the decision has been made to use our world's history, our world's biology and moral standards, adult women definitely stronger than some of the boys defending the walls were not exactly given the opportunity to both fight and die for what is good. Now, I am absolutely not trying to insinuate that what Tolkien wrote is somewhat wrong, or that what I am saying and trying to push is in any way better. That would be straight up insane. What I am trying to say is that I want to base my stories as far away as possible from our world standards regarding pretty much everything. And this just is one of the things that I find crucial for my ability to write characters that I would feel good reading about. Because it's as if I'm robbing myself of the ability to use half of my characters for both good and evil. And to be perfectly honest, the evil part is more important for me as the writer and as the reader in one particular active sense. Obviously, not all characters need to be fighters, but I want to give them the chance, the opportunity to try and do so on either side of that proverbial coin. And this is one of the things that I think are almost essential to my storytelling. The figurative departure from whatever is normal within my current real world setting. And I really want to do my best to make it make sense for myself to read it then and properly enjoy it. So this was an awfully long intro, and please don't take my remarks about Helm's Deep too seriously. They aren't worth much. I just thought that it was one of the examples that I would use in some sort of a discussion of this, so decided to mention it. Now I want to hop on the Rapid Arrows adventures, at least try to go over one or two stories, and we have an interesting one right off the bat. This one feels slightly inserted considering the current state of affairs with the new club room being destroyed. This one is focused on exercise. The entire club is running towards a field. Everyone is ready and pumped up for a workout. And according to Redcap, Speedy is already practicing hard a particular exercise called falling flat on face. Even Bubbles is there, and he is the one positive thing that I can say about this episode. Even what Mirek supposedly says next, that the exercise needs to look good, that it needs to be uniform with pinpoint accuracy. Well, exercise starts, everyone should be at attention. Everyone is, other than Speedy, who's looking around, and they are supposed to begin with squats. So when Mirek commands 1, everyone goes down, even Bubbles does. Yes, Speedy is whistling around, not paying attention properly. Also, the form of their squats is not exactly something I would personally ever replicate, but nevertheless, Speedy is then late for the next portion. He is all delayed, while even Bubbles is perfectly following. Next command is right face, Speedy goes left, then about face, and another about face leaves him backwards in relation to the rest of the boys. So when Mirek commands forward march, he soon begins wondering how come they are all so silent behind him. And this is the end of this weird episode. I do need a palate cleanser, so I'm going to do one more. I have my ideas why this one was included, but anyway, it's time to investigate the origins of the notebook left on the crime site. So after school, Yarka asks the boy Drapshik if he would be willing to go with him, that he needs to ask him something. When they leave school, they are joined by the rest of the club. The boy is jokingly wondering if they are going to accept him into their club. Them being the famous Rapideros, it would be an honor, but the reality is a bit less pleasant because when Yarka shows him the notebook they found in the garden, he reacts suspiciously. He's all shaken up, so that only increased their vigilance. So while they are rebuilding the club room, Mirek decides to stay back and watch to make sure that the disruptor won't come back. They will stay in the laundry room, which has a perfect view facing the garden. If they cover the windows, they'll be able to function normally there. Mirek has to go with Redcap to ask his mother if she would let him go with them. And then, when they are playing some chess, Yindra is watching the garden and he notices someone climbing over the wall. They sprint outside. Speedy urges everyone to be extremely careful. Obviously, that advice biting him in the back because he falls when they are ascending stairs. But when they finally arrive, the garden is empty, and the only thing they manage to catch is an arm hanging over the wall, a suspiciously similar color of the sleeve as one seen on a certain character previously in the chapter. But that is not enough. Obviously, they are still lacking evidence. And since they were unable to catch the intruder's face, they will have to poke around a bit more. But that's in the next chapter. I have more to say: world building, storytelling in general, and more adventures of our paragons of justice.